From the moment Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his carbon tax in 2018, it didn't pass the smell test for a lot of Canadians. Simply put, how could paying a tax make 80% of the people paying it richer? And yet that was the government's claim then, and it's the same claim today.
We will raise Canada's price on carbon pollution, rising by $15 a tonne starting in 2023 and rising to 170 Canadian dollars per tonne by 2030.
Now, this carbon tax applies to 4 provinces where it was imposed: Ontario, Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. And the federal government claims that last year, once you paid your carbon tax and got back your carbon tax rebate, well, in Ontario, an average family would be over $100 a head, in Manitoba, over $200 a head, and in Saskatchewan, Alberta, over $300 a head. Sounds great. But then the Parliamentary Budget Officer, Yves Giroux, took a look at the federal government's numbers. Now, the Parliamentary Budget Officer is an independent, nonpartisan officer of Parliament and a watchdog on spending. Now, the Parliamentary Budget Officer said the government's numbers were only accurate if you ignored the negative impact of the carbon tax on the Canadian economy. Things like lowering gross domestic product, reducing business investment, and lowering workers' salaries. When you included that, the PBO said, 60% of the households in all of these provinces were paying more in carbon taxes than they got back in rebates. And he says for this year, it'll be $500 more in Ontario, about $850 more in Alberta, $500 in Saskatchewan, and about $400 in Manitoba. But that's with the carbon tax at $65 per tonne of emissions, which is what it will rise to on April 1st of this year. When the full impact of the carbon tax applies, that's in 2030, when it'll be $170 per tonne of greenhouse gas emissions. Well, the average family in today's dollars in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Ontario will be paying more than $1,000. That's more than $1,000 after they get the rebates. And in Alberta, more than $2,000 after they get the rebates. So, as it turns out, a carbon tax that makes most of us richer, which sounds too good to be true, that's because it is too good to be true. I'm Lorrie Goldstein of Sun Media. We're always interested in hearing your views, and please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and our YouTube channel.